Virgo, you have come in to teach people how to use their analytical faculties. You tend to draw gullible people who need to learn how to put things in proper perspective. You attract people who live in an illusionary state, and they need someone to teach them to take more responsibility for their actions. Through your ability to correctly assess most situations and bring reason to the problem-solving process, you can be of great help to those who have lost their direction. When you accept your gifts, you are a natural-born counselor because you can sense what is needed to help people regain an objective focus. Through bypassing the emotions and gaining direct access to reason, your insights can guide people around emotional responses that might have been blocking them from seeing things more clearly. You can discern by noticing people's usage of words and their body language, where they have weaknesses that need to be addressed. You can see where the emotional responses are, and you know how to get around these responses to allow people in the back door so they can get to what they really need to deal with. When necessary, you can even help them to reprogram their thought processes. You also teach others about assimilation. You show them how to stay more grounded while they integrate new concepts and expand their awareness. By teaching people how to organize their lives, you make sure that everyone is doing his or her part so that the planet can continue to evolve. You are the one who works hard to get the job done and takes care of all the details. You're a positive example of a hardworking person showing your best effort by very precise thoughts, actions, while being analytical. Just by the way you live your life, you teach those around you how to put things in proper perspective and to do the work that needs to be done. You help them to learn not to feel sorry for themselves, not to get lost in a daydream type of world, and not to be overly sensitive. Your philosophy is, hey, we all have to work. Don't feel sorry for yourself. We need to do this, and we can't function unless everyone does his or her part. Sometimes you are misunderstood because your ability to see the details and sometimes the flaws. If you don't present your insight in a tactful way, you may not be appreciated by those that you are helping. The idea is to point out flaws so that things can be put back in proper alignment. Since your motivation is the desire that everything and everyone can function at a higher level, you will always call attention to something that isn't right. It sometimes seems to others as though you are constantly putting your finger on a sore spot. Those you help may not appreciate you at the time, but later they do appreciate the correction that has been made. In this process, you do not get much validation for your work, and sometimes you wonder if it's all worth it. Yet, it is almost a compulsion for you to continue pointing out people's flaws because your contract with the universe is to help put the planet back into alignment. Professionally, as a counselor, you may help to put people's consciousness back into focus. Or as a friend, you may try to point out things in a tactful way. You have the ability to see the whole picture, and thus you know how to align the parts properly. Wherever you are, you find yourself adjusting the individual parts into the harmony with the universal whole. You deal most with this aspect of adjustment, since this is the main purpose of your sharing. You go through life creating responses in people that cause them to adjust. There is always a temporary irritation in the adjustment until they feel comfortable in the new groove, and then they appreciate what you have done. You need to know that people do come to appreciate the observations you have shared with them. Awareness of timing. If you find that you are being misunderstood and that people are having difficulty getting along with you, it may be time to analyze your own behavior. You may have reached a point where you've become so analytical that you have forgotten to be tactful and discerning. A pill is always easier to swallow when there is a little sugar on it. Remembering this will enable you to maximize your ability to be accepted by others, which in turn allows you to be of more assistance. Timing is of the utmost importance. Remember, there is a proper time and place for criticism. Tact alone is not enough. Even if you point out a flaw to someone very sensitively, if you do it at the wrong time and at the wrong place, it can still be extremely hurtful. For example, you don't tell someone she or he has bad breath just before she gives a presentation and there is nothing she can do about it. Don't tell a person about something that can't be corrected at that time if it's going to make him or her self-conscious. You need to afford others their space and respect their ability to be comfortable with themselves so they are able to function at their highest level. By criticizing people at the wrong time, you can knock them off their stride at a time when they most need your support. Wait until their feet are planted firmly on the ground. Your observations will have the most impact when others can translate them into actions immediately. On the non-personal level, you have the capacity to work in fields of systems analysis. You can work within large corporate structures on important projects that call for someone who is really attuned to detail. You're also good at putting people and projects together because you can understand different processes and you are able to recognize the people and information belonging in those areas. It makes sense that you would function quite comfortably as a systems analyst or director of human resources. Work is very important to you, and when your career is on a solid ground, other areas of your life automatically become very stable. You don't need to be a nitpicker at home if your work environment affords you an opportunity to use your discerning eye. This allows your critical ability to be used for its maximum benefit while keeping it out of the home where it can cause stress. Do not apply your analytical process with those close to you unless you have mastered using a great deal of tact. Being critical toward those in your home can cause detachment within the family. However, this energy can be used positively in the home in the area of the family's diet, selecting what the family should eat for proper nutrition and maximum health benefits. You also have a talent for keeping the mental stimulation and communication flowing through the family by not allowing blockages to form from emotional responses that have been misunderstood. For this alone, you are very valuable to any family, social, or work environment. If Virgo is your prenatal lunar eclipse, you were overly involved in the spiritual realm in other times. And this time you must adjust and get your feet back on the ground. You need to find out that you can function in the physical world and still retain a spiritual consciousness. One of your major lessons is to find a balance between the spiritual and the physical worlds. You need to learn that while we are in the physical body, we have physical desires. Your gullibility lies in the fact that you don't take the desires and motives of others into account when you make decisions. You already recognize the God essence in everyone, but you also need to realize that being in the flesh and working on certain lessons adds a different flavor to the spiritual character of every person. And this is why you must learn to put things in proper perspective and take the desire and motive of others into account. You are psychic at birth and have very strong sensitivities. But because of your one-sided approach, many of the signals you receive seem mixed and clouded. In understanding and using your psychic awareness, remember that if an insight is useful to you, it is from the universe and you can trust it. If it isn't useful, discard it. In this way, you can learn and assimilate what works in the physical universe through a process of personal discrimination. As for your problem with gullibility, it is not necessary to worry about who is telling you the truth and who isn't. You did not come into this life with the ability to tell who is honest and who is dishonest. You just see everyone's spiritual essence. It is difficult, therefore, for you to sort out facts from fiction when dealing with their physical forms. Again, just concern yourself with whatever you are perceiving or being told and hearing or reading and decide, is it useful to you personally? If it is, then you can integrate it into your life and use it. If it isn't, no matter how useful it is to someone else or how truthful the information might be, you must discard it so that something else you need can come in. You are teaching yourself to assimilate and integrate information instead of functioning solely from your inner perception as you have in other times. By incorporating analytical thinking into your behavior patterns, you can take control over your life, be more decisive, and take charge of direction in which your life is going. You are combating an inner tendency to be wishy-washy and easily victimized by others through your readiness to trust without first checking out pertinent information. Once you have established an analytical frame of mind, you are no longer plagued by manipulative parasites. You are taking responsibility for your own life instead of waiting around for others to lead you. And you are learning to discern where your associates are headed before agreeing to participate in unrealistic pursuits. You are learning physical integration on a multitude of levels. When you incorporate your reasoning ability into your behavior patterns, you solidify a sense of adulthood and become an effective focus in the world. It is also important for you to respect your physical body, especially your digestive system, since it correlates most directly to this eclipse pattern. You are learning to take responsibility for the foods you put into your body, just as you need to take responsibility for the thoughts that you accept into your consciousness. This cleanliness extends to your physical body and the organization that you bring into your environment. Paying attention to these physical processes gives you confidence in your ability to operate effectively in the world. Through learning to pay attention to details, you begin putting things in proper perspective, placing them where they belong in your life. The digestive system does the same thing when it sends nutrients to the different areas of the body where they belong. So both internally and externally, your job is to ask, what is this? What value is it? Where does it belong? And as you practice keeping your physical environment in order, on a psychological level, you are incorporating a sense of order, clarity, and definition that all help you to develop a strong reasoning ability. You were born with psychic abilities and are working to develop your reasoning abilities. You have been overly sensitized to the spiritual realms in prior lifetimes, which has resulted in a tendency to be spacey and non-observant in the present. You often overlook details in your environment so you can continue your spiritual quest, but you must remain a sense of discipline, of refinement, and responsibility to your fellow beings. You can truly be a spiritual herald for the planet through offering your services once your gifts have been incorporated on the physical level. You are responsible for helping others to harvest what they have planted on the psychological level. The idea is not to make reality fit into the dream vision, but to infuse the dream vision into the present lifetime. To do this, you must learn the basics of society's rules and be able to operate effectively within that framework.